Back in March, me and my mum went off on a birthday weekend to try and experience the ultimate Harry Potter London weekend. We did the studio tour, we did an awesome Harry Potter walking tour, we ate some great food, saw some sights, and had a brilliant time. And I thought I'd bring you guys along for the ride. So make yourself comfortable, grab a butterbeer and some snacks, and welcome to the ultimate Harry Potter London vlog. Right, Potter fans, it's Wednesday night, the night before our big London trip. I've just logged off of work for the last time this week. I'm very excited about having a nice long weekend, especially because it's going to be filled with Harry Potter fun. So the plan is we're up nice and early to get down to London tomorrow. We're up at 7:30 and it's about a 3-hour train, so it's going to be a long one. What I'm going to do is roll you a nice travel montage of us making our journey rather than trying to commentate at that time in the morning, because that's not going to be fun to watch. But anyway, I'll catch up more with you when we're at London. The plan for tomorrow is to do a Harry Potter walking tour around London, as well as watching a play, getting some nice food out, and just a bit of general exploring. But I'll fill you in more when we get there. Right, everyone, we're here, we're in London. The journey down took about 3 hours, so it wasn't too bad. We're just off of Regent Street. I've got a £7.45 pint, which is disgraceful, but it's delicious. I'll give you a little taste test now. That is good stuff. It's good weather as well. So the plan is to do a little Harry Potter walking tour. It's like a virtual one that you can download on your phone. It was only about £4, so it was really good value. We start at Westminster Station and go all the way through Trafalgar Square to the Palace Theatre where Cursed Child plays. So it should be good fun. I'll let you know if I think it's worth it at the end of it. So I'm going to enjoy the rest of my lovely pints and see you at the end. So looking back on our walking tour, you start off very Order of the Phoenix heavy at Westminster Station, where Harry and Arthur catch the train to go to Harry's hearing. You see Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament, which obviously they fly past on the way to Grimmauld Place towards the beginning of Order of the Phoenix. You also get to see loads of just general London landmarks on this walk. For example, we're going past Downing Street, you end up in Trafalgar Square as well. But one of the highlights, somewhere I'd never been, was to Old Scotland Yard, which is where the supposed entrance to the Ministry for Magic is. We see it at the start of Order of the Phoenix when there's a make-do phone box put there to get down as the visitors' entrance to the Ministry, but this is also somewhere we see it in the Deathly Hallows Part 1, and as you can see, I actually got a little sneak peek into the entrance for the Ministry of Magic. Unfortunately, it does just appear to be a bit of a warehouse in the Muggle world. That is a shame. We ended up in Trafalgar Square though, which is always good fun. And something else that was super cool, this walk didn't just take you through filming locations, but also inspirations for the books too. This place here is called Goodwin's Court, believed to be the inspiration for Nocturne Alley in the books. And to be honest, I can really see it. It was creepy. It was a very narrow street, and they have embraced a little bit of the Harry Potter lore there, which is very, very cool. However, easily the highlight for me on this tour was Cecil Court, believed to be the inspiration for Diagon Alley. Just look at this street and tell me it does not remind you of Diagon Alley from not only the movies but also the books. Now, I've never been here before Harry Potter was a thing, so I don't know if it's always looked like this or if they've kind of bought into the whole Harry Potter inspiration, but it looked incredible. We took a quick walk through Leicester Square to see the Harry Potter statue, which is just Harry flying on his broomstick, but very cool. We couldn't get too close because there was railing, but we had a good look and got a good picture. Then we went to the House of Spells Harry Potter store, which is an awesome shop, but we didn't make any purchases because we knew we were going to the studio tour the next day, which has an even better shop. And finally, it was on to the end of the trip, the Palace Theatre, which shows Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, which we have seen before, but unfortunately we're not going to see on this trip. But it was very cool to end the walk here. What a day. Okay, the tour is done. Surprise, surprise. We've got another pint, but I don't have a free hand to do a taste test this time, unfortunately. Do you know what? The tour was a lot of fun. It was only short. It probably took less than an hour. But for about £4, it showed us some cool places. It had little like audio snippets as well to give you some information. It was really good. I'll have shown you a few bits, seeing like the area that inspired Diagon Alley in particular, and going to the Deathly Hallows filming location for the entrance of the Ministry of Magic was probably my favourite part. But I'll leave a link in the description if you'd like to check out the tour as well. I genuinely would for the price. Recommend it. It was a good way to fill an hour, and you got to see some like regular London sites as well, like Houses of Parliament and Trafalgar Square and all that good stuff. So the plan now is tonight we're going out to the theatre. We're going to watch Book of Mormon. We did want to go and watch Cursed Child. I have already seen it, but we thought for a Harry Potter themed weekend it'd be nice to see it again, but we couldn't fit in both parts while we're down here. So it's not a Harry Potter themed play, but we're going to go and get some nice food, explore London a bit more, go and watch Book of Mormon. Then tomorrow is the studio tour when it gets really Harry Pottery again. Hello everyone, so this is post Zach editing the video, and I suddenly realised I didn't really get much footage from that evening after we'd gone for the walking tour because nothing really Harry Pottery happened. We went back to the hotel, freshened up, then went to get a nice meal, which was really good by the way. We had like an Italian tapas. Incredible. There were like little truffle raviolis, carbonara, these like deep fried pizza dough ball things. Unbelievable, but not really the sort of setting you'd be getting your phone out and filming. And then we went to watch the Book of Mormon, which was fantastic. I was laughing the whole time. Such a funny play. It was a shame, given it was a Harry Potter weekend, that we couldn't watch the Cursed Child. It just didn't fit up the timings, but so happy because I have already seen Cursed Child, whereas I got to watch something new that was absolutely brilliant. But yeah, just not really a Harry Pottery evening. So I suddenly looked back and was like, I don't really have much footage. So I thought I'd jump in now. Also a good time, midway through the video, to say please do hit subscribe if you haven't already and you're enjoying this video. We are so close to 20,000 subscribers. It would be really appreciated if you hit that big red button. But I'm going to leave you now to the morning after we're off to the studio tour. Good morning, Potter fans. You join me on the exciting day, the day we're finally off to the studio tour. We had an 11 AM tour start, so we got up nice and early and got on the underground, heading out towards North London, towards Wembley, to change over to go to Watford Junction, which is the nearest station to the tour. One early criticism you could have, if we're being picky, is that it is a bit of a trek to get out towards the tour, unfortunately, but then it makes sense because it wasn't built as a tourist destination. It was and still is a fully working studio. It makes sense that it's out the way. Anyway, you get out towards Watford and there is a free Harry Potter themed shuttle bus, which is awesome, that takes you over to the tour. As long as you've got a ticket, they let you on for free. There's a Tom Felton narrated video when you're on there. There's Harry Potter music. You're surrounded by fellow Potterheads at this point. It's a fun experience, but of course what we wanted was to get there, and we finally did. The sun was out. There was a little bit of queuing, but nothing too bad, and just like that we finally made it inside the studio tour. Now, we had actually been to the tour before, but many years ago, around the time it first opened, probably about 10 years ago, and we couldn't believe how different it was. There was a huge lobby area with a massive dragon, an awesome looking cafe from the get-go, which I just picked up a water from because I was a bit thirsty. We were going to save our eating for a bit later. We had a quick browse of the shop, but again, we weren't going to buy anything to then have to carry it around the entire tour. We knew we were going to save some time to get at it before we left, but oh my goodness, we were excited at this point. We picked up everything we needed and we're ready to go on our tour at bang on 11 o'clock. There were a lot of school kids around. There seems to be a lot of trips going on this day. There were also a lot of people who seem to have flown in. There weren't many English speakers, which is great to see. It means that Harry Potter is still alive and people are coming out of their way to come and visit, which is always awesome. Here you can see the first bit of a queue before you go and start your tour. They give you a few things to look at, like the cupboard under the stairs, a few of the movie posters, but at this point you're waiting to be let loose of your own accord. Which, speaking of, the first proper section of the tour is actually the last guided section, which is where you get to enter the Great Hall. This is how it used to be. This is how we entered the tour when we first came 10 years ago. So it's awesome that this has remained a consistent part of the experience. This was brilliant. Now, it's important to note they often do themed events, and when we went, the themed event was Magical Mayhem. So as you can see, the Great Hall is decked out as it was in the Order of the Phoenix when the Weasley twins decided to set off fireworks during the OWL exams, which was epic to see, but it also meant we got to see a really fun display. So it's at this point that you're then left to enter the studio tour and experience it at your own pace. You enter an open area which does have a bit of a guided path that forces you to go in a certain direction eventually, but contains loads of different things to go off and look at and experience as quickly or as slowly as you want. Loads of little set designs, staff members demonstrating things, for example, wigs, for example, magical elements of the filmmaking, different individual sets themselves, like the Gryffindor dormitory. This was brilliant. This was maybe one of my favourite parts of the whole experience, just getting to take your time for the first part and soak it all in. Now, we did have the option to get an audio tour if we'd wanted at this stage, but we really wanted to go through at our own pace. And bearing in mind tickets are roughly £50 for adults, we did spend over 5 hours just wandering around. So I think even though it is quite expensive, given it's not something you go and do every day, we really got our money's worth. We took in everything. We read every extra piece of information we could. Any of the live demonstrations going on, I tried to cut my way to watch them. This was brilliant. We'd also had our fix of audio tours and tours throughout the weekend already, so just getting to enjoy it ourselves was perfect. I'm enjoying reliving, showing you some of the footage whilst watching it back myself now. It was such a good day. So it's at this point on the tour you do start getting led down specific locations, but we're not complaining at all because they are all so epic. You go through a forbidden forest that's got loads of interactive features, including an epic mechanical hippogriff that I can only assume is Buckbeak, as well as some pretty scary spiders. If you've got a fear of spiders, you might want someone with you to walk through this bit, because from what I could tell, I think you had to walk through this bit to get to the next part of the studio tour. So unlucky, but you did come through to what was maybe my favourite place to go to, which was platform 9 3/4 with the Hogwarts Express. This was epic, and what was really cool was you could see on certain videos that we saw throughout the tour that this was the exact space that they did film some of the Hogwarts Express scenes. It's not been moved from where it was in the original studio, which I just think was epic, and it really did feel like platform 9 3/4 with the buzz of everybody. You got to walk through the train as well, which, by the way, incredibly narrow, especially for somebody of my size, but the compartments were really cool. Every single compartment was done up like one of the Harry Potter movies, which was epic, but it was time for food. Now, it was your typical theme park style food. I opted for a burger, fries and a Coke, and it was relatively nice, but we decided to hit the outside area next because you could still come back after exploring outside and go and grab a butterbeer. So that's what we thought we'd do, because we weren't quite ready to hit up a butterbeer after all that food. We were looking at some of the exterior sets though, and got to explore inside Privet Drive, which was very, very cool. Even cooler now seeing the set leaks for the new Privet Drive for the TV show, looking back on what it used to be in the original movies. They've obviously set up quite a bit with Privet Drive, though it doesn't look like the original filming set anymore, because they've stylized it to fit with the different movies. Philosopher's Stone with all the letters flying everywhere, Prison of Azkaban with Aunt Marge, and then upstairs set up like the Chamber of Secrets when Dobby comes to visit. There was an interactive mandrake pulling station inside the Herbology greenhouse, which was very, very cool, which we had a go on. And then back to exploring outside, we took a walk over the infamous bridge that Harry and Lupin stand on together, that's introduced in the Prisoner of Azkaban, but then it was butterbeer time. So I have tried quite a few of the butterbeers that you get in bottles before, and I've never been a massive fan because they are so sweet, but this was definitely the best butterbeer I've ever tried. It was still a little bit sweet, but it had a really good butterscotch flavour, and the cream on top just balanced out the sweetness a little bit, but the butterbeer ice cream was by far the star of the show. Mum got it and let me have a little try. It's basically just
butterscotch ice cream or honeycomb flavoured ice cream as opposed to butterbeer, but it was really, really nice. But after a little pit stop, it was time to continue on with the tour. We went to see all the CGI stuff, things like the goblins, the house elves, the creatures, for example, which was pretty awesome. But by this point, I was ready to see another set, and Gringotts did not disappoint. One of the more awesome sets for me because it still felt really authentic. It didn't feel like they'd changed much for the studio tour. You actually felt like you were walking through Gringotts Bank, especially with the hustle and bustle of everybody walking around like in a real bank. It was epic, one of my favourite bits for sure. There's then a little random assortment of things, little prop designs, and you get to see inside the Lestrange's vault, and there's a few interactive bits like pulling out the sword that you can do here, which is all pretty fun, before finally moving on to see Diagon Alley, which was just epic. It was filled with people stopping to take pictures for their Instagrams and whatever, and I don't blame them. This was one of the cooler visuals of the tour. Did it quite live up to walking through Cecil Court yesterday, the supposed real life version? I'm not sure, but it was still really, really fun. All the windows decked out with stuff to look at as well. The Weasley store absolutely dominating in bright orange. So awesome. And then you finish off the tour by seeing the replica Hogwarts, which I remember from the first time I came has always been the signature ending. We also got a little fireworks display, presumably for the Magical Mischief promo. And that was it. That was our day at the tour. Right, everyone, we're back. It's been a great day, but a long day. The lighting is not perfect for this, but hopefully you enjoyed that little look at the studio tour. I will have done a little bit of commentary over it, so you'll have got my thoughts from that, but it was genuinely brilliant. We spent about 5 hours there, loads of fun. We've still got another day in London. How much we'll get done that's Harry Potter themed, I'm not too sure, but I'll keep on showing you little bits of the trip. We're going to go out for a bit of food and a couple of drinks now tonight, which will be really, really good. But I'll do a proper debrief at the end of this video about the whole trip and the experience and link everything below. So you will hear from me again, but for now, we're going to get back out in London. I'll catch you later. And just like that, that was pretty much the end of the ultimate Harry Potter trip. Now, we did do a few more bits and I'll roll some footage while I'm speaking, but again, I kind of realised we just didn't do anything Harry Potter themed after that. We just went and had a good time in London. So I'll show you some bits, but basically that night we went out, we had some nice food, some drinks. I had a nice steak, an ale pie, some chips from a proper London pub with a couple of pints of Guinness. It was fantastic. And then the morning after, we were kind of tied up by the fact that we knew we had to leave that day, so we just cracked on with some bits. Mum wanted to go to some fancy shops, so I went along with her, and I fancied one last walk around the embankment area over the bridges because I just love that part of London. And that was that. We kind of just ran out of time. But for anyone hoping for a little bit more from our trip, the last video I posted on my channel was walking you through everything that I bought from the studio tour, so I'll put that link in the description. Go and give it a watch. I bought some awesome stuff. Of course, the purpose of this weekend was not only to have a good time, but to try and create the ultimate Harry Potter London weekend, and I think we almost achieved that. For anybody wondering if you should replicate it, I would absolutely recommend doing it, but I'm going to give you 3 things that maybe you could do to make it even more Harry Pottery. Of course, number 1, the big thing we missed out on is going to watch the Cursed Child play. And number 2, I can't really believe this never happened, but we never made it to King's Cross Station, which is so Harry Potter themed, but it seemed like we always just seem to go from Euston, which is fair enough, it's the big station, whatever, but there's a great Harry Potter shop at King's Cross, and just in general visiting the original platform 9 3/4 where it was, and even just taking a train from King's Cross is going to add to your Harry Potter experience. And finally, one Harry Potter place we didn't get to go to was Leadenhall Market. I think that's how you say it, my pronunciations aren't great, but unfortunately it wasn't included on our walking tour, but that does contain the original entrance to the Leaky Cauldron, which I guess in many ways is the official gateway to the magical world, so well worth a visit. But that's it for the vlog. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Please hit that like button and hit subscribe to help us on our road to 20k, and I'll see you all later.